In this video, I'm going to show you how to build 3 levels of AI agents using n8n, from a simple expense tracker that just uses tools to a research agent that thinks and plans, all the way up to a sophisticated content creation system that coordinates multiple AI agents to automatically generate blog posts, social media content, and even images. By the end, you'll understand the difference between basic AI tools and truly agentic systems, and you'll have 3 working examples that you can build yourself. So let's look at the difference between simple generative AI agents, and agentic AI. So generative AI is just like a smart brain, right? It can answer questions, but it can't take action. So you can ask it questions, it can answer you. It's like ChatGPT or any other large language model, but without access to tools. And there are limitations as to the knowledge that it has. It can only draw from what it already knows. Next up, we have AI agents. So that AI agent is now a brain plus tools. So not only can it think, but it can also use those tools to perform some kind of action, whether that's to send an email or to check your calendar or to search the web. And AI agents are good for performing narrow, specific tasks. And the last level is agentic AI. So agentic AI is now multiple brains connected. So it's multiple AI agents all working together, planning, coordinating, and with access to multiple tools to achieve complex goals autonomously. So let's head over to n8n. I'll show you how each tool works, and then we'll dive into how to build them yourself. If you're new here, my name is Shub, and I build AI and automations to help businesses and professionals save time and money. And if you're interested in downloading the workflow template that you can directly import into n8n yourself, just go ahead and click the link in the description. And if you want to hire me to help your business or your professional practice automate your processes and save time and money, you can go ahead and click the link in the description to book a call with me. So let's take a look at how the expense tracker works. Just going to open up the chat. I spent 20 on coffee and said, so it's going to add a row to Google Sheets. It's going to update that and come back to me saying, I have logged your expense of $20 for coffee and a sandwich under the category eating out for today, August 22nd, 2025. Let's go ahead and give it something more challenging. I bought a new laptop for $1,000 on August 1st. It's going to do the same thing again, add another row. And if I pop over to Google Sheets, you'll see that it is indeed entering each one. Let's come back here. And now let's clear the memory so it doesn't know what's going on. Now let's ask it to retrieve some information. What was my biggest expense so far? So it's going to search for some expenses and come back to me saying my biggest expense so far was $1,000 for a laptop categorized under shopping. Perfect. So this is a fairly simple AI agent where it's adding expenses to Google Sheets and it's also retrieving them from that same Google Sheet. Now let's move on to level 2, two-step research and answer. So I'm going to grab the chat from up here, bring it down, connect it, and let's get started. So I've got a question here. What are some applications of AI agents in brick and mortar businesses? This agent has a lot more tools. So it has Perplexity. It can search the web using Tavily. It also searches using Wikipedia. And now it's going to come back to me with all of its research and ask me what I want to do with it. Here's a summary of applications of AI agents in brick and mortar businesses. All right, perfect. It's also giving me some sources. And I can go ahead and draft an email based on these insights. So let's go ahead and choose which one to use. I like inventory management. Okay, so I'm going to ask it to draft an email only focusing on inventory management and security. It's just going to go ahead and do some research again, and then it's going to create that draft in Gmail. So you can see that this time it's one agent executing multiple steps where it used the tools first And then based on what it got back from the tools, without further input from me, it went ahead and created the draft. So I'm going to pop over to Gmail and let's hit refresh, and we'll see that there should be a draft over here. Perfect. Applications of AI agents of inventory management and security for brick and mortar businesses. Perfect. And we have all of these insights over here and a ready draft. So this is just to demonstrate that the second level of AI agents can actually execute multiple steps, right? Now let's move on to level 3, which is the coolest one in my opinion. So this is my content factory AI agent where I can just give it a topic, and only based on that topic, it's going to write a blog post. It's going to create a X post. It's also going to create a LinkedIn post, and it's going to generate an image for each one. Let's go ahead and see how this works. So I've given it a topic, the history of espresso. Let's go ahead and hit send. I'm going to hide the chat, and we'll see what exactly is going to happen. So first off, it's going to create a document in Google Docs. That's where it's going to save everything. It's going to generate an image for the blog post, and then it's going to check the status of that image generation. Once that image has been generated, it should update the Google Doc with the URL. Next, it's going to start the blog post writing process. So this is a sub agent within that main agent. So essentially, this AI agent is subcontracting the blog post writing to this agent. And this agent also has its own tools, and it also has another agent within itself to do some more work. So these multi-agent workflows, agentic workflows, are very useful when you have very complex things that need to be done. And giving all of those instructions to a single AI agent would essentially confuse it, right? It would not be able to execute all of those instructions. But by abstracting all of that into multiple parts, you can achieve very complex outcomes and very human-like outcomes using automation. So I'm just going to wait for this to complete. Once the blog post is done, it's going to create the X post and the LinkedIn post as well. And it's going to come back to me with a link to the Google Doc, which I will show you once all of this is generated. So you can see that the blog post writer is calling the writer tool after it's done all this research to write out each section of the blog. And then once all this is done, it's going to go ahead and update that document in Google Docs and add the content of the blog post to it. And then it's going to start on the X post and the LinkedIn post as well. So it updated the document, and now it's going to start to generate another image for the X post. Image is done. Now it's going to write the X post, right? So it's writing the X post, and then it's going to update the document again. Perfect. It's going to generate another image for LinkedIn this time. It's going to grab the URL of the image. Now it's going to start the writing process after updating the Google Doc. Right? So it's writing out the LinkedIn post, updating everything in Google Docs, and this is the last step. So now we should get an output with the URL to that Google Doc. Right? Perfect. Now, a quick disclaimer. You may have noticed that earlier I was using Anthropic over here, but I was running into some errors. So I tried this again using GPT-5, and it's working fine. So let's go ahead and grab this URL, open up the Google Doc, and we'll see that we have the history of espresso, blog, X, and LinkedIn posts ready with URLs. What the image looks like, amazing. This is an AI generated image. You can kind of tell it is because the espresso cup is floating. Let's come back here. So here's the blog post. Incredible. And you can see that it's very well researched. There's a lot of in-depth information that a regular LM would not have been able to come up with had it not had access to the tools that we had given it access to. So that's the with headings and everything. We've also got some further reading as well, right? So this is the Twitter post URL with a copy of the Twitter post. Here is the LinkedIn image URL and the LinkedIn post copy as well. So now let's go ahead and see how we can build this out. If you're enjoying this video so far, I really appreciate it if you could give it a like, and do remember to subscribe to the channel for more AI and automation content. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to keep this open as a quick reference. So first off, I'm just going to add a sticky note to kind of divide up the workflows. Make this bigger. A little 1. So if we come back to our original agent, we'll see that level 1 has an AI agent, a chat model, memory, and 2 Google Sheet tools. Let's come back, and we'll start with a chat trigger. And we'll add that in here. And then we need an AI agent. Here we can give it instructions later. Let's build everything out first. Give it a chat model. Now you can really use any chat model, but it's worth experimenting and seeing which chat model kind of gives you the best requests. I'm seeing pretty decent results with OpenAI, so I'm going to stick with that for now. And I found that GPT-5 is actually a little bit slow, so I'm going to use 4.1 mini over here. And you can definitely even use Nano if you want even quicker results. GPT 4.1 Nano, perfect. So we have our chat model. We also need to give it some memory. Now, the thing with memory is that these chat models don't have access to what was said earlier. So any message that you send to the chat model is treated as a new message. Uh, and and the workaround for that is by giving your AI agent some memory. So what the memory does is it passes all previous interactions back into the AI model so it knows what has been sent earlier so that it can act upon that later, right? Uh, and finally, we need to give it access to two tools as well. So the first tool is Dupe Sheets. So the first tool is append a row, which means we need to create a new row every time we get expenses. The document is the expense tracker, and here is the sheet. If you want to replicate it, I've just got I just got 5 columns: the year, the month, the date, notes, amount, and category. Let's come back here. Sheet is the default one, sheet 1. We want to map each column manually. And for the values to send, just go ahead and click this little button and let the model define the parameter, because the model has to determine what year, what month, what date, the notes, the amount, and the category by itself. Okay. So this is a fender row, and we do need to give it a description as well. So add expense. So the description I've added here helps the AI model understand what this tool is used for. So we have this one here, and we also need to give it another tool. Again, Google Sheets, tool description. Let's set this manually. Retrieve expenses from Google Sheet. This time the operation is get rows. Document is the same. This is also the same. Let's not add any filters for now, but under options, return only first matching row. Let's keep this optional and let the model define it. So this would be useful if you only wanted to ask what the last thing you spent money on was. Okay, so this is done. And if you have not done so already, you'll also need to set up your Google Sheet credentials. So let me go ahead and open this and show you. I've already got mine set up, which is why it didn't ask me to do it. But under credentials to connect with, you need to have a Google Sheets account set up. To do that, click on New Credential, and you can follow the documentation, which is pretty self-explanatory, or I'll leave a link at this timestamp in the top right. And I made a pretty in-depth tutorial on how to set up Google Sheets for n8n, and you can find the link at the top right. Now that all of that's done, the only thing left to do is to give it a system prompt. So I'm going to double click here, click Add option, and go to System Message. I'm just going to pop back over to the original one and grab the system prompt from there. And I'll talk you through how I have set this up. Let's click expression, make this bigger. Your job is to help me log and retrieve expenses using the two available tools. We're also telling it the date because the AI model doesn't understand what the date is. You must categorize the expense as grocery, eating out, transport, health, personal, entertainment, clothes, or shopping, and you can add or subtract as many categories as you need. Then log the expense using the Google Sheets tool, and I've also given it an example of how the expense should be logged, right? I may also ask you about a bunch of expenses or one particular expense. So here it has to use the Google Sheets tool to retrieve the expenses and answer my question. And I'm also giving it some guardrails to not entertain any other questions or conversations. If I ask about anything else, it should respectfully remind the user that you are an expense tracker and nothing more. So this is the first level, and that's complete. And that hardly took a few minutes, so it's pretty easy. Let's just go ahead and hit save. Now let's move on to level 2. So I'm going to copy over the sticky note. Level 2, and just to make things interesting, let's change the color. Let's make it red this time. So level 2 is going to be quite similar to level 1, except we're going to give it more tools, and the system prompt will contain instructions for multiple steps that the AI agent has to execute. Where level 1, there was only one step for every input. Level 2 may require multiple steps, right? So let's go ahead and disconnect that chat node from here, drag it down, and add another AI agent. You can just leave all of this as default. We're going to need to add a chat model, so you can also do it from here. Let's click Add Chat Model. I'm going to use OpenAI again. GPT 4.1 mini is fine. We also need to give it memory. So simple memory is fine. Context window length 5 is also fine. And the context window length is how many previous conversations the AI agent is going to receive. So if you send it 5 messages, it's going to refer to all 5 of those previous messages for the next one. And as you move on to message 6, the first one is going to get pushed out of memory, and then it'll be, the 5 before that. So we have our memory set up, and now we need to give it a bunch of tools. The first tool is going to be Wikipedia, because this is a research agent. So the beauty of Wikipedia is that you don't need any parameters, you don't need any API keys, it's just built in. So we have the Wikipedia tool. We're also going to need to give it a Perplexity tool. Perplexity, if you haven't heard of it, is an LLM, much like ChatGPT. But it does have access to the web, and it's really good for conducting research, right? So if you don't have your credentials set up, you're going to need to create new credentials and go to perplexity.ai, register, add some credits, grab your API key and paste it over here. The model I'm going to use is Sonar for now, but depending on the level of research that you want to conduct, you can either choose Sonar Deep Research or even Sonar Pro. But just to save on some credits, I'm going to stick with Sonar for now. The messages, so the text that we want to send over to Perplexity is going to be defined by the model, right? And that's because the AI agent has to decide what question it's going to ask Perplexity based on our original question. So everything else we can leave as default. That's Perplexity setup. Next up, we need to add Tavily. Now, Tavily is a really interesting web application where it searches the web and comes back with really in-depth results. So the free plan gives you 1,000 credits per month, which honestly is more than enough. Once you get into like enterprise level usage, then you might need to upgrade to like either pay as you go or to one of the paid plans. So in Tavily, you're going to need to grab your API key from here. You just go ahead and click copy. And if we head over to the documentation, we can see what kind of HTTP request we actually need to send. I'm going to go and click API reference. And what we need is Tavily search. So on the right side over here, we can see exactly the query that we need to send. This here is the URL. Let's go ahead and copy everything over. Copy, come back in here, and we're going to select an HTTP request tool. Make sure it is a post request and paste in that URL. And let's add the description as well. Use Tavily search. And we can rename this as well. Now for authentication, this is where we need to add our API key. So the most secure way to do it is actually to save the credential in n8n. So I'm going to choose generic credential type. And then under generic auth, if we come back here to the documentation, we'll see that next to authorization, it says bearer. So this is called bearer authentication or bearer authorization. So if we come back here, we'll see that there is a bearer auth option. And then under bearer auth, you can go ahead and create a new credential. Let's call it Tavily. And your bearer token is going to be your API key from here. Copy. I'm back in here, paste, and hit save. So that's your API key setup. And now this is saved securely in n8n without making your API key public in case you want to export this workflow and share it with other people. We also need to send a body. The body content type in this case is going to be JSON. And the body, we can, instead of using fields below, we're just going to say using JSON. And you can come back to the documentation and grab all of this, starting from the opening curly brace all the way down to the closing curly brace. Copy. I'm back in here and just paste that in. Make this expression. Let's make this bigger and see what exactly is going on. So really the only thing that we need to modify is the query, right? Because this is what the AI agent is going to pass in for Tably to search. Now, to make sure the AI agent knows that it has to provide a query, we can use two curly braces and a $sign from AI query, close the parentheses, and close the curly braces, right? So this variable basically tells the AI agent that it has to, oops, we forgot the double quotes. So this variable tells the AI agent that it has to fill this in, right? Okay, everything else, general is fine. Basic search depth is also fine. Everything else is okay, but we can really remove the day, start date, and end date because we don't really need a time range for this, unless you're searching for news or something. And we can also remove the include and exclude domains. And if you want to search a specific country, you can go ahead and change that over here. So this is Tably all set up. Okay, perfect. So those are our three tools: Tably search, Perplexity search, and Wikipedia. And if we go back to the original AI agent, we'll see that we also have a Gmail tool. So let's come back to the agent, drop in a Gmail tool. You'll need to set up your credentials just as you did for Sheets. It's the same credential. It's the same credential as for Sheets. So if you set it up once, you just need to copy those same credentials over in here. Tool description, we can set automatically. The resource is, instead of message, we actually want to choose draft. Operation create, subject, let the model define this parameter. Email type, you can keep it as text or HTML. Text is really fine. And the message is also going to be defined by the model. Now let's go back to the original workflow and grab the prompt. I'll paste it in and I'll talk you through it. So you are a research assistant and your job is to help me come up with knowledgeable, cited answers regarding any questions I'm expected to answer. We have the Tably search tool, the Wikipedia tool, and the Perplexity tool to access. For every query, you must use all three tools and present the research in an organized manner. I will then choose what to use, after which will generate a response to the query and save it as a draft using the Gmail tool. So it's a fairly basic prompt, but in this prompt, we're giving it two sets of instructions. The first set is to use the tools and grab the research, and then to wait for us to answer it, and finally to use Gmail based on that research and to save a draft, right? Okay, so that's level 2 complete. Now let's move on to level 3. We're going to go ahead and hit copy. I'm down here, paste again. Let's choose another color. Let's go for green this time. I need to make this a little bigger because there are a lot of things going on over here. Okay, so grab the chat node, disconnect that, bring it down here. Okay, and now let's add another AI agent. This AI agent is now going to control multiple AI agents. So we need to give it a chat model that can handle kind of bigger context windows and handle more tokens. So I'm going to use GPT-5 over here. So let's go back to OpenAI. And instead of 4.1 should actually be able to do it as well. But let's just use GPT 5.0 for now. So that is our chat model. We also need to give this agent some memory. Now, because this requires a lot more steps than before, instead of keeping the context window length at just 5, let's make this 10. So this agent is now going to require a whole bunch of tools. So the first tool we will give it is the Google Docs tool, because our output is going to be a Google Doc. And you'll need to set up the Google Docs credentials as well, just the same way you did for Gmail and for Google Sheets. Resource is document, operation is create. For the folder name, you can really choose any, but I'm just going to keep it at the home level. And the title is going to be determined by the model. Okay, so that's create a document, which is the first step that it has to do, right? Next tool is going to be to update that same document that it created. So let's go search for docs again. This time, instead of create, we want to update that document, right? So the doc ID, let the model define this, because once it creates it, it's going to hold on to that doc ID. And Really, the only setting we need to change is text, and we'll let the model define this parameter as well. So create a document, update a document. Now this content creation agent is going to do three things for us. We needed to write blog posts, we needed to write X posts, and we also needed to write LinkedIn posts. So let's give it those. Let's start with the blog post agent. So for tools, this time we're going to search for AI agent. So this is the AI agent tool. Let's call it blog post striker, and we'll fill in the prompts after we've set everything up. I'm just going to put XYZ for now, otherwise it's going to throw an error. Now this AI agent is going to be able to call another AI agent to execute like a sub workflow. And this output goes back into here, and then this decides what to do with that. So this is where we're kind of graduating from only AI agents into agentic AI, where you have multiple agents talking to one another and really executing, achieving complex objectives. So we need to give this a chat model as well. Let's go ahead and drag this down here, and let's use OpenAI again. And for now, we can stick to GPT 4.1. Now 4.1 mini should also be able to do it, but because we're asking it to do quite a lot, it has to output the blog post as well. Let's give it a bigger model, GPT 4.1. So there, that's that. We also need to give this its own memory because it's going to need to research multiple sections and remember what it is research. So we can't connect it to the same memory. It needs its own memory. So come back here and let's increase the context window length for this as well. So, oops. So this has its own memory, and we need to give this some research tools. So we can just go back up and grab these because we're going to be using Tablet Search and Perplexity as well. Copy, come down here and paste these two. Attach those two tools. So that's Tablet and Perplexity. That's all done. So that's the research part done. And we'll use a third level of AI agents this time to write out each section, right? So we can leave research and orchestration to this level, and then we can leave the writing to another cheaper model. So let's add another AI agent. This time we can call it the Riker agent. Prompt is going to be defined by the earlier AI agent, and we can fill in the system prompt later. Let's call this the Riker agent as well. And let's give it a chat model. Now, because it's going to write out each section one by one, we can use the cheapest chat model, which in this case is going to be 5 nano. Let's go ahead and choose that. So that is our writer agent. Okay, so that's the blogging workflow setup. Now let's go ahead and make this a little bigger and create the LinkedIn and X post workflows as well. So we can go ahead and call another AI agent this time. X post writer. X post striker again. And the prompt will be determined by the earlier AI model, which is the main content orchestrator. We need to give this a chat model as well. So, and what we can actually do is, since X posts and even LinkedIn posts are going to be fairly short, we can just connect it to this one. And just to make things easier, let's go ahead and label this as GPT by Nano so we can remember what's going on. Okay, so that's our X post writer. This doesn't require any memory. This doesn't require any tools either. Let's go ahead and drag another line, add another agent, AI agent. We can call this one be LinkedIn writer. Add a description. The prompt will be determined by the larger AI model, and we'll fill in the system prompt later. The chat model, again, we can use the same one just to keep our canvas a little bit cleaner. So that's our LinkedIn writer, our X post writer, and our blog post writer all set up. Now, the last two tools that we need to give the main agent, which we should rename as well as content factor, is image generation. Now, for image generation, there's a couple of ways to do it. You can, if you have some credits in Google Gemini, you can just call Google Gemini directly, resource image, generate an image, and choose your model. Make sure the prompt is defined automatically by the model. but my workflow uses Replicate. So let's go to replicate.com, sign in. So once you're in Replicate, there's a lot of different models that you can choose from. So if you go to Explore and Image Bundles, you'll have a whole list of different ones that you can use. FlexChanel is the cheapest and it is one of the fastest. And we can see that it's already had 449 million runs. Just going to go ahead and grab that, right? So it's $3 per 1,000 images, which is insane if you think about it, right? And if you go over to API, select HTTP, we'll be able to see the request that we need to make. Grab this URL over here, copy, come back in here, and let's add an HTTP request tool because there is no native replicate tool. Rename this as well. And save, copy the URL. Let's start a GET request. We need to make a POST request since we're sending data. We're not grabbing data. Under authentication, I've already got mine saved, but you'll need to set this up in the same way. And if we go over here, we'll see that it is indeed a bearer token. Now, I had already set my credentials up using header up. And the way I did that was in the value, I just typed in bearer space and then pasted in my API key. But the easier way to really do that is instead of using header auth, just use bearer auth instead. We do need to send a body, JSON. Using JSON, let's make this bigger so we can see what's going on. Come back into Replicate and let's go ahead and grab this data. Copy, paste this in here, and the prompt is going to be determined by the model. And remember, in order to do that, 2 curly braces, $, from AI, open parentheses, prompt, close the parentheses, close the 2 curly brackets, and make sure to add the double quotes. That's it. So that's Replicate all set up. Now the way Replicate works is that once you make your post request and start your image generation, the return value that API is going to send will contain a URL for you to then hit and check to see what the status of that image is. So the AI agent will automatically receive that URL. So to check the status, all we need to do is go ahead and create another HTTP request. This time we can call it check status of generate image. Should rename this as well to check status. And this time we can leave this as get. And the URL can then be defined by the model because it's already going to have it. It just has to check that particular URL. And that URL is going to be unique for every image generation. So you don't need to keep changing it. Remember all you need to do is remember to add your authentications. So that's all of the nodes all set up. Now all we need to do is go ahead and copy over our prompts. So this is the main content factory prompt. Come back to add option, system message. Let's just click expression to make it bigger so we can see what's going on. You are a content creation agent. I'll provide you with a topic and your job is to take that topic and use the available tools to turn it into a well-researched blog post with an accompanying image, next post, a LinkedIn post. And we're also giving it instructions where I'll only provide you with a topic. And then from that topic, it has to use each tool one after the other, add each output to the Google Doc using the Google Docs tool. And ultimately, the one and only output that this agent should provide is the complete Google Docs link. And we're also giving it an example flow of what we expect for it to happen. So it receives the topic, creates a doc, generates a blog post image, writes the blog post, generates the X image, writes the X post, generates the LinkedIn image, writes the LinkedIn post, and finally outputs the link to the completed Google Doc that you saw earlier. So that's this prompt. We also need to provide a prompt to the blog post writer. Prompt is going to be defined by the model because those are the instructions as to what the topic is. So let's go ahead and let the model define this parameter. Add option and add a system message for more instructions. So you are a master at writing 1,000 word blog posts. I've left this at 1,000 words, but you can bump this up to 1,500. I've seen that anything above 1,500 to 2,000 kind of results in the language model cutting off the final part of the blog post because it can't handle that much output at once. So a safer range is 1,000 to 1,500, but I would encourage you to try with other language models and see if you can bump up the word count. So in the prompts, you will receive a topic. Step 1, use the Perplexity tool to generate a title, H2, H3 outline for the blog post. Maximum 3 H2s plus an intro and a conclusion. And each H2 should have a maximum of 2 H3s and a total word count target of 1,000 words. Again, you need to change this as well if you're going to modify this. Step 2, use the Tablet and Perplexity tools to research the H2 section, keeping note of the sources. Use the Writer tool to write out the section. Remember to give it sources too. Repeat for the next section and then again until all sections have been researched and written. Step 4, write in introduction and conclusion using the Writer tool. In step 5, present your output. And again, important, your only output should be a final blog post, nothing else. So we don't want that workflow to be interrupted halfway, right? Once the blog post writer receives an input, the only output it should send back to the content factory is a complete blog post. And to it, we're also attaching a writer agent. Come back in here, add a system message. You are an expert at writing blog post content. Write in easy to understand language. Target difficulty level is 8th grade. Remember to add links where needed. I will provide you the sources, which it should get in the prompt from the blog post writer agent. Now let's come over to the X post writer. The prompt is again automatically defined by the model. You are an expert at writing punchy, attention-grabbing, scroll-stopping, and informative Twitter posts. Perfect. Obviously, you can make the system message as detailed as you want. I would encourage you to give it example Twitter posts as well. So it kind of has a framework to model every tweet after. And finally, we have the LinkedIn writer. So the prompt is again defined automatically by the model. We need a system message. So it's a fairly detailed prompt. I use Claude to generate this, and I found that Claude actually happens to be really good at generating prompts based on, and it can take simple instructions and turn them into very, very detailed and effective prompts for AI models. So that's that. And if we zoom out, we'll see that our content factory is also complete. So all we need to do is give it a topic. It will write out the blog post. It will write an X post. It will write a LinkedIn post and deliver all of that to you in a silver platter in a Google Doc, all ready to go. So these 3 examples show you the exact progression from simple tools to true AI agents. So start with level 1 to understand the basics, build up to creating your own content factories, right? And in the description, you can go ahead and click the link if you want the template for this that you can import directly into your own n8n instance and start experimenting right away. Or I would actually encourage you to build along with this video. If you're still watching, congratulations. I really appreciate you. And I hope that you learned something useful from this video. Do remember to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more AI and automation content.